see fish come up to it. The kids just love it, so.
Yep.
Getting them to
My
fish
7th
for.
grader loves it, begs me to go.
Oh, it's great, it's
Yep.
great.
We went Saturday too.
Please rise and join us in the pledge.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The fish were biting Saturday too.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
On sundown is when we finally got some.
Good morning.
They turned pretty good.
Morning.
for us.
Moines County Board of Supervisors, January 19th, 2021. Are there any changes to the tentative agenda? I have none. Meet with department heads and elected officials. Terry Johnson, Des Moines County Auditor.
Good morning. The office is busy, and we're getting ready we're preparing for the Danville School special election, which is March the 2nd. And we got the ballots in, but officially absentee voting can't begin until 29 days before the election. So that will be in February that the ballots will be available for voting. So we're just busy preparing for that and doing everything else in the office, so that's it.
Thank you, Terry. Colin Durst, IT.
Just keeping busy like always, but nothing really new to report.
Okay, thank you. Jared Lasser, Land Use.
Morning. We've got a couple things on the agenda today and nothing significant other than that, so I think I'll just pass for now.
Brian Carter, Secondary Roads.
Good morning. Shane was asking about the weekend, basic weekend, however, I feel like, Saturday midday, all of a sudden the forecast changed, and so our guys got the honor of running our plow trucks Sunday for a better portion of the day. So it wasn't a whole lot, just enough to kind of be a pain and cause us to keep on working. So the guys were out on Sunday, just plow trucks, no motor graders. So appreciate their time on that. Contractor is still working up at the bridge. Maybe today we'll finish driving piling on the last pier to be done. So that'll actually be the end of all pile driving. Could be tomorrow, just depends on the progress they made yesterday. So to give you an idea of the headway they've made, both abutment, we'll call them footings but are done and ready to have beams set on top of them. The southern pier, there's only 2 piers. The southern pier is done. And what they're working on now is the northern pier. So once they have those piling driven, they'll do a concrete pour for that. And I honestly, depending on how yesterday went, they could theoretically pour today and possibly do another pour on Friday too. But they're making headway is the point. So that's good. Been mild weather and water's down. And they're taking advantage of it. I don't think you could ask for much more. So that is moving along. I've talked with Shane a couple times on this subject, so I'm gonna just address it real quick, that gravel roads, it's one of those things. I mean, we're heading towards February, and the next 2 days are probably gonna be a great example that Jim driving a bus gets the first-hand view of a lot of it. The 40-degree afternoon is nice because it melts ice and it tends to get rid of snow, but it also, we do have windrows of snow down the gravel roads. And the reason we have those is because, well, honestly, they're full of rock. I mean, you work hard to get rid of that snow, you move as fast as you can, but you don't want to launch all that rock into the ditch if you can avoid it. But now they need to melt, and that takes some time, and we are in the middle of winter. So we have a mixed bag. We got potholes, we have, the next 2 afternoons, we're gonna have a couple spots of sloppy roads where they're just moisture's thawing out and has nowhere to go. It doesn't get warm enough to evaporate or dry out anything, it just kinda sits there and is muddy. So, we still have icy spots. I mean, where especially, I was driving Beaverdale yesterday, and boy, you go literally from a shaded spot with trees to a spot where there's no trees and sunshine. It is night and day difference in the road. The guys have done a good job. I don't think there's any ice anywhere where you can't at least drive and get through it. But it's just a mixed bag right now, and it's going to be a mixed bag for a month or two. I mean, they are frozen, even though when you drive through a muddy spot, I guess you don't really think about it, but it's frozen, I guarantee it. And so unfortunately, we're gonna live with what we have for a little while. It's nothing new. I mean, if you've been on a gravel road all your life or have experience with it, you've seen this before. It's just the way it is right at the moment. So it's one of the reasons I say the best thing we could do is freeze in late November and not thaw again until March. I mean, that's perfect world, but that's not what we get. So anyway, and we were out yesterday just with motor graders, knocking back a little bit of snow that we had and scratching on ice and stuff like that. And I believe someone will be back out today. Otherwise, we're just cutting some trees and doing some patching on our pavements. So
Those, back on 99, those precast beams, how long will it take them to get those when they get those poured?
the beams are sitting in the yard and ready to go.
They
They
are.
were produced this summer, so they're ready, and they'd like to get them set, you know, if they can. They've got, obviously, got to finish their concrete pours. And then traditionally, which I don't imagine this being different, there's riprap that goes underneath both ends of the bridge on the creek bank, basically. Obviously, the best time to do that is before you set the beams, but you have to do a little bit of shaping of the bank and get it prepped. It isn't just throwing it out there and then moving on. So they have a little bit of that to do, because obviously it's a lot easier to do that without stuff over top of you than it is once you set the beams. So there's a few things that they need to do, but they're itching to set them. The beams are ready. So, and I mean, once they get them set, they get paid for them. So it's gonna come along, and those are gonna be some, you know, if we can identify ahead of time the day, I'll let you know, because those are gonna be some big, especially that center span are gonna be some big, maybe the biggest beams that you can set as far as standard beams. So the center span is, I guess I can't quote you the exact length. It's either 150 or 155 foot, I want to say. They're 5 foot tall concrete beams. They're monsters. It's one of the reasons the bridge is going to be higher when it's all said and done. Because we wanted to clear span. That was one of our design decisions we made right off the bat, was we wanted to clear span that channel and not be blocking up debris like we have historically. Should help the flow tremendously, especially during high rainfall events. So anyway, yeah, it's, you know, if this weather stays the way it is, the next month, the landscape could really change down there. Just see how things move.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Sheriff Kevin Glenn.
Good morning. Things are going really well at the sheriff's office. We are continue kind of some moves and transitions of offices, and Colin and IT and Rodney and maintenance have just been an abundance of help. So I thank them again for that. Hopefully we'll wrap that up here in the next week or two. We had our testing this past Friday and had a couple good applicants get through that. So we'll continue with our civil service exam or interviews, and hopefully have a certified list that we can hire from in the coming weeks. We had our city council meetings last night with Mediapolis and Danville, so we were able to wrap up all of our town contracts. It's always nice to get that in place for the budget year. So we have our school resource officers completed with Mediapolis and Danville, and then our town contracts with Mediapolis, Danville, and Middletown. And a couple of those are on the agenda today, but we finished all those up last night. Other than that, I have nothing else. Doug's here, so he can address the jail.
Were your prospective recruits faster than Deputy Grimshaw?
Much.
That's gonna be very further than 40
The
yards.
ones that passed.
Oh.
So,
That's good, thank you. Ken Heineman, Community Services.
Good morning. We had, last Wednesday, we had our SEAL Advisory Board and our change agent and our governing board meetings. And one thing that came out of that was our legislative priorities. And so I'll just share a copy of that, coming from the advisory board, going to the governing board, and so yeah, that's just a list of the priorities. I know mental health funding has been something we've mentioned before here in the meetings, and so that's the list that they came up with, and I thought I'd share those with you in case you're meeting with legislators. If you have any questions. I know telehealth, we've been using telehealth with COVID, and it's working really well. We'd like to see Medicaid continue to pay for telehealth even after the COVID crisis is over. And they would like to be reimbursed, the providers would like to be reimbursed at a rate that meets their costs. So sometimes Medicaid funded services don't always meet the costs of the services, and so that's part of the parity thing in here too, that they would like for adult and children's services for mental health, the Medicaid rates to be adequate to meet the costs. And local control, continue to allow regions to set levy amounts to meet our service needs. Mental health funding, we need stability, we need, the state hasn't given us mental health funding, but in the governor's budget is a proposal for $30 million to go to regions over 2 years. And so that would be 15 million and 15 million from the governor. Now, I don't know, we got $30 million for that CARES Act, and so our region ended up getting 1.5 million of the 30 million when it was divvied out to all the regions. So I don't know if that would mean 1.5 million to our region like we got for the CARES Act. Over a 2-year period, so it'd be 750,000 a year. That's just a guess from me, but, so.
Well, the CARES Act was a portion per capita, right?
Yeah, I believe so. So I'm not sure how this is apportioned. I'm just,
I would assume that way, but who knows?
yeah, I'm throwing out a number just in case. It might be the same.
If you're getting anything from it, would be better than nothing. what they're doing
Exactly.
Right now.
We've not been getting
Yeah.
anything from the state, so this would be
No.
something. It'd be a move in the right direction. With all of those new services that are mandated, we need some money from the state. So yeah, and sometimes people getting out of inpatient, they don't have a place to go after inpatient, so we need more inpatient beds. We also need more places to go after inpatient. So that's kind of a list for you from our different groups that met last week.
Thanks, Ken.
Yep.
Doug Urban, Jail Administrator.
Yeah, good morning. Everything's going pretty good at the jail, keeping very, very busy. Our population, again, this weekend, or week is at 95, I believe it was at 95 Monday of last week also. We have 19 out of county. Our big problem now is Lee County is suspending holding any more inmates due to some COVID issues. And Henry County is also not accepting anymore due to their population, and their population's due to us in Des Moines. And same with Washington County, so if any,
That leaves
one
Moines.
more person gets arrested, we're gonna have to reach out even further, as far as transportation wise goes.
Tom, you wanna fix that, make sure nobody else gets arrested?
Oh, I thought you-
He's on it, boss.
I will stay
I
off
thought he
the
had the
streets.
bus.
The only way to handle that is just tell your deputies, if you arrest them, no place, they go to your house.
Very good. Other than that, on the, as far as personnel actions go, we have another new hire, now put us at full staff, which is very awesome. However, we did have somebody just resign, a part-time person, and that was due to, the person wanting to go back, get some schooling. So that leaves us with one that's only available on weekends, so. But I think with full staff, and we'll put another ad in the paper, if we get another part-time or two, we'll still be in good shape as far as staff goes.
How many hours is the part-time, 20?
Yeah, up to 28, but yeah, roughly.
Thank you, Doug.
Yes.
Krista Poggemiller, Public Health.
Good morning. We continue to be busy. Currently, the 7-day rolling positivity rate is at 7%, and the 14 days at 10%, so we continue to have that decreasing. Year-to-date cases, we've had 3,810. On the website for the Iowa Department of Public Health, it also talks about the number of vaccines that have been administered. So in the county, at this point in time, we've had 2,034 vaccines provided by providers in the county, and residents of the county, 1,578 residents of the county have received the vaccine. 356 have had the second dose completed. So we have 356 individuals who've completed both. Phase 1B is slated to roll out starting February 1st. And that will include persons 75 years and older, as well as, just to name a few of the other entities that would be able to receive the vaccine would be correctional facility staff and individuals incarcerated, frontline essential workers in food and agriculture if they're unable to social distance, pre-K through 12 school staff, early childhood education, and childcare workers would be eligible. First responders, and this would be where the firefighters and police officers and child welfare social workers, also inspectors responsible for health, life, safety, including those in hospital and long-term care. And that's just to name a few. The list is a little longer than that, but as soon as we have an idea of how much vaccine our county will be receiving, we'll post that, and we're hoping to do drive-through clinics to be able to administer those. Again, it depends on how much vaccine is available. So there'll be more information to come, and I'll keep everyone posted.
Thank you, Krista. You find out, do they contact you on a Monday and let you know you've got X number of vaccines coming this week, and then they show up a few days later?
Generally, it's either Monday or Tuesday. So what I understand is that the state works on Sundays to look and see what the allocation is at their level. And then they look and see how it can be split out amongst the counties. So it's usually Mondays or Tuesdays that we'll get notification of the allocation, and then we accept it and usually get it by the end of the week.
Thank you. Anybody online?
Yes, I have 4 here. The first one is Rodney Bleasner with maintenance.
Rodney Bleasner, maintenance.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Good morning. We're having a work session with Doug and you guys after the meeting. Other than that, nothing new to report.
Thank you, Rodney.
Next, I got Chris Lee, Conservation.
Chris Lee, Conservation.
Good morning. We've got a crew out in Huntwoods today, maybe be some other days this week. We are dropping some of the dead hazard trees back there along the trail. So if anybody goes back there to walk the trails, there may be a little bit of a disruption with that going on. Otherwise, just kind of business as usual for this time of year. We will be opening the Nature Center next week. We're going to have hours 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesdays through Fridays will be open to the public. That'll give us time to come in on Mondays, do a deep cleaning of the place, and then in the afternoons during the week, do cleaning as folks come in and out and stuff. So, but we'll be getting that back opened up starting next week. And I think that's it for today.
Thanks, Chris.
Janelle Nally Longquist, Des Moines County Treasurer.
Janelle Nally Longquist, Des Moines County Treasurer.
Good morning. We continue to be busy, but I have nothing new to report.
Thanks, Janelle.
Lisa Schaefer, Des Moines County Attorney.
Lisa Schaefer, Des Moines County Attorney.
Good morning. I'll have to make this quick because I'm doing this in between court appearances. We don't have a whole lot going on. We have the personnel action for Todd's resignation. Other than that, just plodding along, getting ready for trials next week, or excuse me, next month. I'll scare myself. And starting the search for 2 replacement attorneys. That's about it.
Thanks, Lisa. Good luck.
Thanks.
I didn't miss anybody, did I? Okay. Any correspondence? I have none. We will proceed to discussion and vote. We have accounts payable. in the amount of $1,222,360.28.
Move approved.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have payroll claims reimbursement in the amount of $505.60.
So moved.
Second.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have a resolution, final plat for Schulte Hills subdivision. I'm guessing that's you, Jared?
Yep. So Schulte Hills, this is a minor subdivision in Franklin Township, north of Burlington, off of 160th Street. It's a pretty simple situation here where there's an existing residential lot, about 3 acres, that was carved out of a 40-acre plot, I believe, back in the 1980s, which counted as the first split in that 40-acre. And the person who owns that home is interested in expanding their property. I believe the way it was initially developed, the way the lot was laid out, where the home was placed, kind of inconvenient in terms of being near the back there. So they just want to have a little bit of buffer space there, and then so that they work out an agreement with the neighbor who owns the remaining 36 acres of that 40-acre. To swap 4 acres between the two. And although this is largely just going to be an enlargement of the existing lot, because the added piece is over 4 acres and the original lot is only 3, that means that this would be considered a subdivision. And also the owner does intend to keep this additional lot as a separate parcel, even though it's all part of the same general residential property. So no significant comments were submitted other than secondary roads indicating that they would need to use the existing access off 160th. And ordinarily, if this were just being 2 lots combined together, that wouldn't be as much of a concern, but since this is going to be a standalone tax parcel, even if it currently is under the same ownership, we did put a condition on the plat that that would need to be the case if that lot were ever to be split off in the future, sold separately from Mr. Schulte, the owner of that property, then they would need to share that same access point off of the county road. So with that, we'd recommend approval of Schulte Hills.
So moved.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. And we have a resolution for reappointment to the Des Moines County Zoning Commission for Jesse Caston.
Sounds like this is happened pretty recently here, which makes sense because he was just appointed earlier last year, early 2020. However, when he was appointed, he was appointed to serve initially the remainder of a 5-year term that had been begun by his predecessor, John Roth, who had resigned about 4 years into a 5-year term. So this is simply to reappoint him for the first full 5-year term. And he's interested in continuing to serve. Only had a couple of meetings so far, but of course we are in the midst of the ordinance update, so we've had at least a couple of sessions so far just to discuss and review that. So nothing else to add. So.
Nice to get a volunteer for that board.
Yes, it is. Move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell, Tom Broker.
Yes.
And more to discuss on that at the work session.
have the city, excuse me, the City of Middletown Law Enforcement Agreement. I suspect this is Kevin.
Yes. This is a proposal of the sheriff's office to provide law enforcement services for the city of Middletown. It does not include any scheduled patrol times or minimums. Instead, it is the response to calls for service as needed and handling all the law enforcement calls within the city of Middletown. We have actual patrol hours for Danville and Mediapolis, but Middletown doesn't include that. So that's a proposal that we came up with and the city of Middletown agreed, and we continue to kind of transition back to where we were several years ago. The city of Middletown had some concerns with costs several years ago, so that went down at that time, but we continue to work through that and kind of work back to where we were.
I didn't notice it on this before, but paragraph 3 is written out the sum of $13,000. And then in parentheses, it says $13,500, and 2 payments of $67.50, so it's $13,500. We get another one of these printed out after the meeting, and we could sign. I'm assuming it's 13.5, right?
That was,
Yes.
that was emailed to me with the signatures on it, so.
Oh, that's got the signatures on it.
Yeah, I don't think I have the ability to do that.
I can address that with them and get an updated copy, and then we could just have a
Yeah,
clean
or-
copy.
We could,
Or cross it out and initial it.
uh,
I mean, if they agreed to the 16, or the,
13.5, and that's what I read, that was the 13.5. This is just a,
Misprint.
I'll tell you what, we will pass this, I'm gonna cross that out, and you can, I'm gonna put the line through it.
and then put the correct amount and just initial it.
Okay, but it does have their initials on it, I guess is the only thing. Well, let's pass this at 13.5. We have a contract for the city for law enforcement agreement with the city of, the town of Middletown for $13,500 for fiscal 21-22.
So moved.
Second.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We'll think about maybe call them after the meeting or something, or the right way to do that. We have a 2080 agreement between the Danville Community School District and Des Moines County for the School Resource Officer Program. This would also involve Sheriff Glendale.
This is an identical agreement to the one that came through for Mediapolis. Mediapolis and Danville's agreements are identical, but Danville got theirs through, and the same numbers. We'd also recommend passing that. And again, it's a program that we're excited about. We have 2 great deputies in the schools, and I think everybody's really happy with the program we have.
And these are going through 3-year terms? Are these
They're 2-year agreements.
2-year agreements?
Fiscal 22 and fiscal 23.
I know Danville's satisfied with Corey, I know that. I can't speak for Mediapolis. So.
We met with the principals and superintendents for both schools, and we do that a couple times a year, and they're very excited about Deputy Brecken up there, as is Danville with Deputy Whitaker. So.
Anything I've heard, people are happy about that.
Yeah, yeah. Just the right personalities to be around kids and work with the faculty, and they're doing really well.
Good. Move to approve.
Second?
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Okay. We're gonna canvass the Two Rivers Levy and Drainage District 2021 election.
You want me to go get a letter opener, Tom, or,
I've already got my shoes off.
okay.
Well,
Here.
maybe before I tear this up. Thank you.
Look at that sharpen that thing.
Okay. I'll let you count those. Supervisor Campbell. Okay. Are they all voted
Yes, sir.
for Chad Kuntz?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We've got
A lot of votes. For down there, it's a lot of votes. Chad's probably campaigning.
I've only got 16 on this tally sheet. Is there another tally sheet?
Nope, they sealed everything in there, so it's whatever's in there. Are all 20 votes
There's
for?
20. 20 all for Chad,
They're all-
yeah.
Three, 4, 5, 6.
Great, he doesn't trust my counting.
7.
I can't do this. I can't do this.
Good thing I didn't have you guys on my
9,
camp board.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, wait a second. The last 4 have Chad Kuntz in there and they aren't marked. That's what I thought was gonna be one of those days. I think those are just unvoted ballots.
That must be unvoted ballots.
Because the tops, I didn't realize that either when I first looked at
I
it.
just
didn't
saw
mark
the
them?
name, I didn't.
Yeah, when that's all I looked at till I saw, so those are all, so we're good.
I don't know what we're gonna do with that, over 20.
What's that, what'd you say?
One day the
So I wasn't sure
supervisors.
what he was gonna do with
But
that,
that
over
don't
20.
count.
And it might have been they had 20 ballots available.
They had 20 ballots,
Only
they just put in
16
the regular
voted.
ballots, yeah. I
They
didn't
just put
notice that
everything
either.
in there.
I didn't notice that either, Shane. Okay, though, we're, the tally sheet matches the ballots. So we need a motion to, accept the results, approve the results.
I move that we approve the results.
I second that. Trust your guys' accountant.
You can count them.
I'll second it then, so I don't have to count them.
Okay.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes, please.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Where's this get stamped or signed?
You could probably just stamp it on the front of the tally book, just stamp it somewhere. Or, yeah.
That's a big turnout for a trustee election. Usually it's won by the guy that's got 2 write-ins. Okay. We have personnel actions. We have 1 personnel action for the county attorney. We have the resignation of Todd Shelf, the first assistant county attorney, effective January 13th, 2021.
15th, I believe. If you look at his last.
Oh, effective 1/15, you're right, yep. Effective 1/15 at 4:30 PM, last Friday.
Move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We will miss Todd, he worked a lot with the board.
So what would happen if I would have said no to Todd wanting to leave?
That's,
Would we
we've
have
tried
him
that
locked up?
before,
Yeah,
quite
Jim
honestly,
Carrey
and
tried
one of the public health nurses threatened us with some sort of bodily injury. So that was our only, tell you what, there was a letter attached to that, let me read this into the record. Ms. Schaefer, this letter is a follow-up to our conversation of January 3rd, 2021. I resigned my position as first assistant Des Moines County Attorney effective at the close of the day on January 15th, 2021. I have accepted the position of Associate General Counsel at Great River Health System effective January 18th, 2021. My new position brings me back to a pursuit. I began in law school when I was an intern for a large health system located in Des Moines, Iowa. This new position provides not only the opportunity to fulfill a career goal, but will provide me with an opportunity to continue to serve the people of Southeast Iowa, although in a different capacity. It has been my great pleasure to serve as an assistant Des Moines County attorney. I have treasured the opportunity to serve the people of Des Moines County and the knowledge I have acquired. Furthermore, I've been blessed to work with many of the finest people I know in our office, members of law enforcement, and other county offices. It has been my privilege to seek justice for the victims of crime, especially the victims of sexual assault, and I am proud of the work I have done. Thank you for allowing me to serve as your first assistant. It has been an honor, and I take the experience with me to my next position. Sincerely, Todd Shelf. I appreciate the sentiment, and he will be hard to replace. Okay, we did vote on that, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay, we have 1 personnel action from the Correctional Center. Cody Reynolds, full-time correctional officer, new hire, at a new rate of $38,706.18 a year.
I move that we accept the personnel action.
Move second.
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. And we have 2 personnel actions. For local health, we have Stephanie Gall, a disease prevention specialist, to extend a temporary part-time disease prevention specialist at $23.88 an hour, temporary position ending May 31st, 2021. And Michelle Van Zieden, Van Zieden, a disease prevention specialist, to extend a temporary part-time disease prevention specialist at $23.88 an hour, temporary position ending May 31st, 2021.
Move to approve both of them.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have reports for general assistance for December 2020, the Sheriff's Monthly Report for December 2020, and the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission Annual Report for fiscal 2020. These reports will be on file at the auditor's office and available for public review. We have minutes for the regular meeting of January 12th, 2021.
Move we approve?
Second?
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Any other business? None. Future agenda items. Committee reports.
I had a Russ meeting. It was a pretty good meeting. We, nothing new going on. We didn't have to put any shut-offs in on anybody, and if everything goes right, our dues might go down a little bit, so.
Good.
We won't know that for another couple weeks, see how that goes, so. That'd be a blessing.
Yes. Jim's got that board all straightened out after he got on there.
What's that, Jimmy? Got it all?
Jimmy's all straightened out, the dues are going down.
He's a good man.
Yes. Do you have any committee meetings, Shane?
No, I've got one coming up, so I've got nothing to say. You'll have to wait till next week to hear my talk.
Okay. I attended a meeting of the Joint Safety Committee. We approved the fiscal 22 budget, approved the AED, automatic external defibrillators, grants for the Des Moines County landfill and for the Burlington Public Works. And I attended the Southeast Iowa Link, the governance committee that Ken mentioned, and we approved the fiscal 22 budget recommendation, re-elected officers, and approved claims and some new committee members. And that's all I had. Public input. If anyone from the public would like to address the board, in view of the fact that we have limited seating, you may email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's BOARD@dmcounty.com, or call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-753-8203, extension 4. Anybody in attendance have any comments?
I take it that might be me, since I've been to be apartment head. I didn't realize you could do the email or the phone call, or I would have done that.
That's fine. If you would introduce yourself for the record,
Okay.
ma'am.
Linda Schneider, I live in rural Burlington. Do you need an address?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm here, I have a grandson who's 12, who's a Medicaid patient, and we were looking to get a second HPV vaccination. And I spent a couple weeks trying to get a hold of public health about the timing, whether, you know, with COVID, it's so particular about the when, whether it was before the 6 months or after the 6 months, because it was a pretty painful shot. It was expensive. And I spent 2 weeks calling public health, and they don't answer the phone. Everything goes to voicemail, so I finally just started picking options. And I think I did the healthcare provider, make an appointment, and I got a hold of a person. And she told me I would have to call this family doctor, because after this week, I wanted to make sure. She said they're suspending the immunization clinic. And I said, you mean that means you can't get a shot at public health? And she says, yes, you have to call the family doctor. And I said, we had a problem with the first one, whether he was Medicaid or the doctor, and he needed the other shots to get into school, and we did the HPV with it. And I knew the doctor wouldn't do it, but Jen, I had to call. And she says, no, the doctor isn't set up with the state of Iowa, and they don't get paid for it, and it's over a $400 shot between the shot and injection fee. So for Medicaid, we can't pay that. So I called Jen back, and this was all late Friday afternoon, and she says, I said, so what are the poor kids on Medicaid supposed to do? She says, well, they can just wait till they start the clinic up again.
You can just what?
They can just wait until they start the clinic up again. So I called around in the meantime. Burlington Peds gives them, but he's not a patient there. In the last 2 weeks, they've merged with CHC. So the only options my grandson has in Des Moines County is to go down to public health or to change his doctor so he can be seen at CHC. And I just don't really think that's a great option. He's really happy with his family doctor. He's just not set up to do the immunizations. And my grandson's been on Medicaid basically his whole life. He's had the majority of his shots at public health. We've always been real happy there. I just need to make sure I'm understanding correctly. After this week, they're not doing immunizations for the public.
And if I could, I'll let Chris ask, just so I know it's been tough for public health the last few months of COVID.
I was gonna say, in the middle of all this,
We've hired the 2 people, we just extended their jobs. Their basic job is to be on the phone. They're covered up with, so I understand, but go ahead.
Before we talk that too, I do have to add, the doctor's office didn't know anything about this, and public health told me all the doctors were gonna do it. So I'm like, okay, we got a problem, so I call around, and then I find out we have 2 options, or not do it.
Okay.
If I'm understanding correctly, I don't wanna.
So if I could clarify,
Sure.
so thank you for your email this morning, and
Okay.
actually I've kind of passed that along. So I think there was some confusion, so with COVID, and we're kind of gearing up towards doing drive-through clinics. So we are doing immunizations by appointments, and so what the communication was with the staff is that we will, instead of doing 2 half-day appointment days, Tuesday and Thursday afternoon from 1:30 to 4, we're scheduling people all days on Tuesdays. And there was some confusion, I know that that's what she told you, and I asked her about that once I got your email, and there was confusion. We are continuing to do by
Okay, God,
appointment
thank you.
on
There wasn't a lot of
Tuesdays.
options in the area.
No, there was some confusion with that, and I have to say, you're absolutely correct. I mean, things are very chaotic in our office, we're calling different places, doing the contact tracing, as well as setting up immunization clinics, looking ahead to 1B, as well as doing second round for 1A, and so our office is very, very busy, and I think there was just some miscommunication in that. And I think she's probably already left a voicemail on your phone, because that was the first thing when I got your email that she was going to clarify. And we are doing immunizations, but they are by appointment only. Part of the reason for that is social distancing. We don't have the space in our office to have, and it's cold. In the fall, when we did this and we had people standing outside, had them waiting in their car, it's just too cold to call people in, to have them just be a walk-in type of clinic. So immunization and scheduling those has worked really well. So people who need immunizations do continue to call our office. We will get them scheduled as quick as possible. We do stagger those immunization appointments just to make sure that there is appropriate social distancing, but we are continuing that, and I appreciate your follow-up on that.
Well, thank you. I thought it seemed really she said there'd be an article, ad in the paper that they had stopped, and I thought, since that was next week, it would be faster to probably come do this than, I hated to leave it hanging. You know, it wasn't just my grandson, it was, the other thing, when I said it wasn't just my grandson, she says, well, when I start the clinic again, he can get, the HPV can be later. And I said, well, I kind of get that, but I said, what about the other kids? And she says, well, your grandson's handled, don't worry about the rest. I'm like, I'm a grandma, that wasn't probably the best. Okay, I feel so much better, thank you.
Well, and I apologize for that. I think, again, not to make any excuses, we're kind of busy there. I'm sure that, that wasn't what she meant to say. It probably came across a little bit differently, possibly.
Our first round, when we had the problem trying to figure out, they sent us to the doctor sent us back, nobody wanted to do it. And my son he didn't understand what he had, he thought he was from Hawkeye, so she was very, very good. I chalked it up to probably the stress of COVID. But it was it's really hard when I couldn't get anybody on the phone, and I've been trying, and then when I did pick the healthcare option, which wasn't very fair, and she was a little ticked, I get that. But I get that. And I hated to do that. But I didn't, since I've been sick last fall, I didn't really want to walk in down there. I really wasn't keen on coming here today. So, okay.
And we have had.
Problem solved, see? Communication.
Any problem you have with the county, you can email anyone or all of the board of supervisors, just because we will contact that department with those questions too, so don't be shy about doing that if you need to.
Well, this happened really late Friday, and in fact, I will tell you, I called, not knowing that we didn't have a lot of options, I called Iowa Public Health. She called me back at like 5:30 Friday night and called me Sunday, so I will let her know too.
Good.
She just wanted to make sure, somebody wasn't stopping a clinic, because she says we've had some issues with some counties doing some renegade things with COVID, and she says we just don't need to get any of that started, so I will let her know it was just
So ma'am, you came down here you said this was your son or your grandson?
my grandson.
Well, God bless you, Grandma.
Well, his mom is not in the picture. She's got some drug problems. He hasn't seen her since he was 5, so
Well, bless you.
I've kind of been the fill-in.
And as far as time, nobody else in the county cares what time they call us or email us. So if something happens on a weekend or
I
at
didn't
night,
think it was that pressing.
well, no, I'm not being any more of a smart aleck in that, but don't think that, well, it's too late to send that email or to call them. I get a number of calls.
I probably kind of
outside.
panicked when she told me it was after this week, and I'm like, oh my God.
That's
Okay.
understandable. I'm glad you got it sorted out.
What he
Tough times,
said,
tough
what he
times.
said, any problems, you can email me anytime. I don't care what time it is, so.
He stays up watching movies till 5 o'clock in the morning.
And reading.
I used to be a manager at the water company under Alan Borden. It's communication is a lot of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes just sitting down and, and I knew this was fairly informal.
Yeah,
So, okay, well, thank you, I appreciate it very much.
not a problem.
And I'm not upset with Jen, she was very good, I just chalked it up to probably the stress of the times.
Yeah.
It's a
Hope
huge
everything
burden.
goes well for your grandson.
What's that?
I said, I hope everything goes well for your grandson.
He does well, we're very blessed, he's a very smart little cookie, so I'm hoping he continues on with that. The teenage years are ahead, he's almost 13.
I'll be praying for you, honey.
Good luck with that.
Being grandma that kind of does the mom thing too, I get exactly what a parent gets, and it's like, I just want to be a grandma, so. Well, thank you all.
Thank you, take care.
Nobody called in, so.
Okay,
Time up.
if there's no other comments or questions, with an aye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Well, it was easier to resolve it than to
Moines County Board of Supervisors work session with the jail and maintenance regarding a generator.
Yeah, what we're looking at doing is replacing our generator. The generator's been there since the beginning of the jail in '95. And it runs, when our power goes out, it runs a partial amount of our jail. It runs, what it does not run is stuff like, and I didn't realize this, is air conditioning,
Yeah, air conditioning.
freezer.
The freezer's on it.
Water heaters.
Water heater, I don't wanna jump in, but this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the hot water heaters are not on it, washer and dryers are not on it, AC and heat are not, exhaust fans are not.
So by not on the generator, you mean, so if they lose electricity, they lose those?
Yes.
Could you
lose
start
all
again?
those.
You said the freezer?
The freezer is on it, I'm
The
sorry.
freezer's on it, okay.
Freezer and cooler are on it, the phones are on it, the main corridor lights, the fire panels on it, the intercom, stuff like that. But there's enough stuff on it, if the power was out for an extended period of time, you might be looking at moving people out of there.
But what is not on it?
The hot water heaters, the air conditioning and heating, washers and dryers, exhaust fans. And these are just the big items, that's without going through every
Okay.
single thing, this is just the big items.
So the hot water heaters, air conditioners, and
And the heat.
heaters,
You said the freezer's not on
The freezer is on it.
the freezer's not
and
on.
exhaust fans. That's a pretty good list.
How about your other kitchen appliances, like
It all depends, I didn't go through all the,
Yeah, how it is now in there, there's certain plugs that work, and they're marked red within our jail. So like in my office, I have one red plug, so that one will kick on and the rest will not. So part of our lights will shut down. Just depends on what you have plugged in there. I do not know specifically as far as kitchen appliances, like what of those run and don't run, but
the only reason I said that is that could upset your meal train.
yeah, correct. Well, what the problem is we could replace what we have, and I'm gonna let Rodney and Jack go over those costs between the two units. Replacing what we have or what we wish to go to that would run the whole jail. And the main reason we want to run the whole jail is to pick up all this stuff, but if there's a problem that happens like in Cedar Rapids, you can't hold people in our facility. There's no windows, no nothing like that.
What do you mean if there's a problem that happens in Cedar Rapids?
Like when they're,
where the power was out for.
where the power's out for a long period of time. The windstorm that they had.
Okay.
And it shut down the town.
We had an ice storm, when was it, 2007 or
Yeah.
8 or something like that? It was 3 days or something like that.
Correct. And you just can't house people there, obviously, depending on if it's summer or winter without heat or air, because it's going at all times, all year long. One of the other of them is on. I'm gonna let Jack and Rodney go over the price difference between the two, and also if there's any sort of resale value on what we have now.
What kind of a generator is it currently? Is it natural gas or?
Olympian is what it is. It's got a 350 small block motor in it, but the rest of it is run, it's Olympian. And over the last several years, we deal with 3E. They do the PM checks on them besides us checking them. And the last couple times we had parts problems, they had trouble getting them.
But is it diesel then?
No, it's natural gas.
Natural gas,
I
okay.
apologize, I thought.
You're gonna go for diesel, aren't you?
That's what I was like, that's what this quote is. I've only got one quote at this point,
Yeah.
but I plan on getting a couple more if we're gonna move forward on it or not.
So diesel, but it run on diesel or natural gas?
No, it's one or the other. They don't have them.
They don't have a
Yeah.
dual fuel or?
Bazine Electric is the one this one is from, and I asked him that question, and he said at this point, he doesn't know of one that'll run on either or.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so
at this point, we're just looking at the diesel, which would be similar to what we have here at the courthouse.
And it would have the capacity to run all the things that this one doesn't?
I got two
That this
different-
one runs plus the rest of the
Yeah,
stuff?
I got two different quotes. One of them is just to replace the one we got with a diesel. And the only downside of that, number one, you don't have all this other stuff. It's gonna be exactly the same what it runs. And if you did that, it would be approximately 3 weeks. You would not have a generator, because they gotta take the old one out. The slab where it's at's cracked and stuff, they'd have to redo this. So I mean, your downtime would be longer.
So this would be, this would basically, they take out one generator and it would have to sit in the same place?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume that if you went to the other generator, that wouldn't happen?
No, the bigger one that we wanna go with, it would be moved over, I don't know if you're real familiar with the back of the jail, but where the dock is, it would be on the other side, like in the grass. And right there, on the inside of the jail is where all the electrical panels, everything comes in. So, and this one, they have broke down in like 5 different phases of working on it, setting it up. Like number one, setting the concrete, everything, drilling through the jail to get new lines through. And with this, Alliant has to move their transformer. They're gonna put a new switch box, all that stuff in. But in the long haul, the last step to switch the wiring, you're only talking a half a day, he said, 4 or 5 hours with no generator.
Is most of this work taking place outside of the jail then?
Yes. The only part that's inside is basically where they run the new lines through the wall into the main box.
And that's the part that you said.
So the downtime would be
Yeah, that's
3
the
weeks, 3 weeks versus half a day?
Yes. And those are approximates. Because like I said, just to replace the one where it is, that slab is cracked and stuff, but right now I keep patching the cracks and all that, but if they're gonna put a new generator in, we're just gonna take that out and redo it. The quote numbers on this one, to just replace the existing one, is $83,454. And then to do the bigger one, to run the whole jail, everything, is $149,952.
149 what?
149,952.58. And on this one, Alliant would have to move their transformer too, and their charge was $6,200 for them moving the transformer.
So that's
Is
added
that in
to.
that?
So that's added to the
That's added,
That's added in that quote then?
yeah.
Plus 6,
I'm sorry, it's not in the total, that's an addition.
Oh.
So it's 150.
so
Yeah.
6,000, how much for Lion?
6,201.24. And like I said, that's for relocating the transformer where it is over to the other one.
So, let me get back, I just have a question for you. You said we don't want a situation like Cedar Rapids. What did Cedar Rapids do?
They did a couple things. They did take some of their inmates and take them to other jails. They also brought in external generators
Okay.
to come in temporary.
And we could do the same, but we would still have all these other things not on the generator.
Seems like Jack's got an attitude today. Am I the only one? Hey, so,
I'm just trying to be thorough
I'm
so you
just messing
understand,
with you.
yeah.
So, let me know again, what's the difference between the new one and the old one is the new one? It's all new,
The new one is-
products, so I mean, the parts and all that stuff are
They're all
more
brand new, yeah.
accessible, those sort of things. And what you've got out there is a dinosaur, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had problems on the last problem was a little control box, and I think it took them 2 weeks or something to get it. And in that time period, if the power went out, when the switch is on auto, it would not kick on. So I would, in that time period, waiting on this part, the jail knew to call me right away if the power went out, because I had to come over and manually start it. And it took them a long time to find the part was the problem.
So is this generator, because technology changes and stuff, so are we getting the right generator so that 10 or 15 years or 20 down the road that we're not going through this same problem? You know what I'm saying?
I would say yes, from the knowledge that I have of it, it should last a long time. And like I said, this is only one quote. If we're gonna move forward, I'm gonna get a couple more and talk, more diverse, talk to more people about it and get more opinions on it.
I guess the only thing that would change that is if you would decide to add on to the jail at some point.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing that I could see would change it.
Is that something on a plan down the road?
Well, it's been discussed, but
Well, it's been discussed over the years, but, there's no set plans, but
In my mind, it's not.
in my mind, I could see that would be the only thing that would change it.
There's that.
We have an answer.
We've been through the cost.
He has a second for it too.
Of the jail is so many dollars, but then you put in staffing and the costs that go along with the new facility, servicing that debt and for everything. It doesn't take very long to be able to afford to send some prisoners to other jails.
That's why Des Moines got Lee County and Henry County filled up. That's why Polk County does.
Yeah, and I just kind of, this is totally off topic, but real quick, that's kind of, Des Moines has a whole section that holds like 200 beds that they have built in place, already done.
Des Moines.
Yeah, Des Moines, Polk County, the city of Des Moines. That they are not using, it's cheaper for them to ship out, not use that whole wing, because they would have to hire, I don't know how many people they have to hire for that, but it's cheaper for them to ship out to all over the state of Iowa than to hire.
And Missouri than to staff it.
Yeah.
Housing prisoners is not a profitable business.
No, it's very unprofitable.
That's the same way that Polk County sends them down here to juvenile detention, It's cheaper for them to do that than just to.
Anyway, way off topic there. But
Go ahead.
as far as pricing goes from this, so you're looking very roughly at double the price, between 83,000 and 166,000.
156, 154, if that's what I got.
Or 156,000, yeah.
I got 156, 753. What'd I do?
I got 150, 154.
You take 150,000 plus 6,200.
952 plus 6202.
I've got 156 and some change.
That's exactly what
You
it
can
is.
average them all out, so.
Would you
Anyway,
gentlemen mind if I throw in a few questions, not throwing curveballs in? Is the bigger generator, is that moving to the east side in the grass area? Is that what causes the move of the transformer?
yes.
I assume the bigger generator won't fit in the current location?
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
And then
But the
you
newer
run-
generator's going on the north side, right?
No, it'd be the east side of the jail.
Oh, okay.
Where the original, where the one's sitting now.
Yeah,
It's going straight south, basically, on the east side of the building.
okay,
And
okay.
the reason for that question, and there are no plans for jail expansion or anything different for the sheriff's office, but I think if there was a plan for a different office, that would be kind of the general location. But as we talk about 10, 15, 20 years down the road, that grass area would probably be that location, I think you'd hate to be building a building around a generator, but again, there's no plans in the near future for it, but.
It will be just off the concrete dock, just up high
So it'd
enough
be
to get
pretty
everything
close.
level. So it'll be
Okay.
right on that corner of the building. And then just to the south of that is where the gas meters and stuff come out. And that's like the maintenance shop where the hot water heaters and everything and electrical, everything is in that room. So I wouldn't think you would add on right there anyway. I don't know.
how old is the current generator?
From the beginning of the jail, so 95.
95, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So if you get a diesel generator, you're gonna have to have a fuel tank.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
560 gallon
500,
fuel tank.
yeah.
How long will that run it?
Well, I'm trying to think. It'll run it a couple days,
Couple
I would think. I couldn't tell you. I mean, we've had here at the courthouse, and I know it's ran a couple days, but it's just a matter of calling the fuel company and they just truck it out and fill it up.
Sure. Is that fuel tank included?
That's all part of it, yeah.
That's
It's-
part of
it's-
it?
Yeah, it's all encased
The one in the
inside.
back of the courthouse, it'll look similar to that. The tank will be sitting underneath the generator.
Okay, okay.
You won't even really know that there's a gas tank there, but yeah.
What are you spending on natural gas for the present one?
I don't have it
I
here
don't have a
now.
number on me.
Um,
I can go get it.
Well, I'd like to see what the cost to run that in comparison to what it's going to cost, you know, if we look at that,
Well-
and it's diesel, what the difference would be in
It
maintaining.
would be hard to break it out because it's not metered separate, so the natural gas is for the whole jail, which runs, you know, some of the heating units, the kitchen, all that stuff's included, so without metering it separate, it would be, I mean, maybe a generator person that deals with them all the time could maybe give an estimate on that, but I couldn't tell you.
Myself, I think you need a diesel. Because if you have a disaster like something like that, they shut a lot of gas off up there when that terrestrial, whatever how you pronounce it, went through. It even interrupted the gas and everything else.
That's why I.
And this way, if you've got diesel, you know you've got it.
How
Yeah,
big is
worst
it?
case, you can make runs to a gas station.
Yeah.
How big's the bigger generator?
This, or are you talking the size of it?
KW.
Wattage, this, 300 kilowatt, and the small one is half that, 150.
Yeah.
What's the lead time on those?
Right now, talking with these people, if we decide to do it, they can get it ordered, and it won't take that long to get here. He didn't say it. I think he said a few weeks to a month.
Oh, okay, that a few weeks, it's not something you just wait.
No, I'm pretty sure he said a few weeks to a month.
Oh, okay.
And that quote is them doing basically everything, taking out the old one, blah, blah, blah.
Poured pad and everything?
Yeah, he got it through his contractors doing the pad and all that stuff, and through a line on what it would cost to move their transformer. That's all, that stuff is in there.
What about warranty?
Most, like everything else, the warranty is not that long. I think certain parts of it are longer. I don't remember. I asked him that and I can't remember exactly. I'd have to talk to him again.
Do you know if you can still like get extended warranties on stuff like that? Or?
I don't think on generators you can. I'm not positive, but I don't think you
Don't you
can.
get those phone calls every day?
What brand is
Don't you
it?
get those phone calls
What
every
brand
day?
is it? I just asked what brand it was.
I don't know if you can have that on here.
Okay.
Generally, they've been Kohlers, but.
Most of the time it's Kohler. I don't see where it says, but that's what the last ones that we've gotten in the past were Kohler. It doesn't actually say on here what brand. It's just a standby generator. It doesn't say the brand.
No question for Doug. My mind lightly goes back a few days to your budget hearing. Anyway, you had that 400K there and you re-estimated.
That's kind of why I'm here, because I'm not a generator guy. Don't shoot me.
I had a great big one, they used to shoot studs, and I didn't like being around, because every time they pulled the trigger, it sucked down 5 or 10 gallons worth of diesel. So, since COVID, that 400K, you aren't gonna spend all that, as we both know, on that prisoner housing.
Correct.
Do you have a handle on what that'll be?
I do. As of now, from July to now, we budgeted or $400,000. Right now, as of taking care of December, we still have $342,000. Okay, so we haven't used very much. However, so we're gonna be billed. Right now, we have 20 inmates out. We have 5 more months. That's gonna be $150,000, because it's gonna be $1,000 a day, housing 20 inmates out, times 30, roughly 30 days in a month. 5 months, $150,000.
So we could reasonably expect that ending balance to be
$150,000.
$150,000 or more or less than the 400. So if you've spent, what, 40 now, or 50, 60? You got 340 left, you got spent 60.
I got 340 left. I project to spend 150 of that, 342.
190.
190, great.
So, anyway, which in my mind is more than 156.
Yeah, that's why in our budget hearing, I left that $400,000 there instead of, because I knew this conversation was gonna come up. I wasn't gonna use this 400, but knowing I have $342,000 sitting there, I wasn't gonna buy anything else for the jail besides inmate housing unless we came here.
So everything else being equal, the money to buy this is already in the fiscal '21 budget,
Yes.
when we set the levy rates and everything.
No, it's in the budget.
That's what I mean,
This year. Right now.
for right now, for fiscal '21,
Yeah.
Anyway, we put in $400,000 for housing that we aren't gonna spend, so if we spend 250,000, whatever we said, 150, anyway, and this.
I think either way, we'd still be sitting here having the same conversation.
Oh,
Taking the budget part of it out.
It's a lot easier conversation
Absolutely.
if there's 150,000 we aren't spending versus if we already spent it.
Absolutely.
Plus a little bit more.
I just wanted you guys to realize.
Right on.
I just wanted you guys to realize that this was something that we felt was needed. It's not something that, hey, we got some extra money, let's go do this, try and push this through. It's
Yeah.
just one of these things that's what I'm saying, we're gonna have this conversation one way or, either way. It's just one of those things we feel that. We
Rodney
need to
came
get
to me
done.
earlier this year, having no idea about this and said it's needed. I'm like, I have a plan if we can wait till this time of year, because I needed to see where that roller coaster was gonna go as far as inmates went. So he had, it's not a,
I think
definitely wasn't.
I think on Dwayne's last year as administrator, he had discussed it and got bids and quotes similar to get a new generator, not exactly what we're doing here, but because of the age and the problem of getting parts for that thing.
Jack, can I ask a quick question? What's the cutover time for those generators out there? Like, ours is a few seconds here for the courthouse. Is it pretty similar out there?
Basically, if you're sitting there, well, the jail one is different than the rest of them. It has to do a runtime every Monday. We have to check it every week, plus 3 ECOMs. Anyway, when it kicks on every Monday morning to do its run, it also flips the transfer switch to run under load, in other words. And we're required to by state things. They changed it a year ago or something. So the lights sometimes flicker. Very seldom do the computers go down, but I have been told every now and then their computer goes down and they gotta reboot it.
So my backup data center out there that we have our extra storage and stuff that we dump out there, we do see the UPSs, the flick on and off out there. But realistically, if there was a really big issue out there, my UPS is only gonna run for about, if I'm lucky, maybe 10 minutes. So that's the reason why I was asking, what the kind of kill over time would be, but it probably should only be a few seconds, shouldn't it?
It's not, I don't,
1 second.
it's less than, it's really
The
short.
generator here does it. All the generators do it. Fire marshal kind of wants us and requires us to make sure that the generators run weekly and that they run under load. So all the generators, all the buildings do that on a weekly deal. You guys, we generally have it in the morning before everybody gets here. But yeah, you might see a quick flicker in the lights, maybe. Most of the time when the power has went out, during the day, people didn't even know. Had no idea that we were under generator power.
It's a real quick way
it's
for
really
me
quick.
to find out if I have a bad UPS, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Because I have found that out.
transfer switch, just, I don't know if you guys know, but once, a long time ago at the jail, it did not flip when the power went out. Somebody had to manually open the cabinet and flip the switch. So when they say run on load that we're required to do now, it flips that switch all the time to make sure it continues to work. because when they weren't doing it, sometimes they would stick and then they wouldn't go.
Just one question that came up, Sheriff and I were talking here a few weeks ago, and he brought up, if there's a resale value on what we have there at all.
At
Is
this
there any-
moment, on the quote, it just says that they will remove the old one and put it in storage for us until we decide what,
I didn't know if there's a market out there for,
not really.
I haven't looked into it.
Who'd you get the quote from?
Bazines, Tim Brown, Mike Brown.
Okay. Are they a dealer of a certain brand? Or did they
You know,
just
they
go out and get enough prices?
Didn't really say, they put in generators for us before out at the tower, it's a lot smaller, of course. And that one was the same way several years ago, it was an Olympian, but it was way smaller. But, I mean, it would never, half the time it wouldn't run, it would set off alarms, I'd have to go out and jimmy it and play with it and
They're not
adjust the
spec-
carburetor to keep it running, you know.
They're not specific to a dealer per se.
I just wondered.
It's questions I can ask him.
Well, I know one thing, if you do have a problem, they're gonna be right on it.
Yes.
I dealt with them out at Sunnybrook, and they was right on.
They treat us really good, they do.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are, but do we need to get other bids?
That's what we were discussing, I think we do. Like I said, I haven't got any others yet, I just wanted to see if we needed to, how far we're gonna go with it. I can get a couple more bids.
And I think probably, you probably should get other bids, just, I was contrary, you always get more bids. Right now, I don't disagree with anything you've said, and I think if you're gonna get something, you get something that'll run the jail. And, if something would happen,
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that there was,
Yeah,
a bit of
just-
support
just in
there, make
case-
sure that, we were gonna continue looking forward to doing the project, and we'll get some other bids and get them compared.
Presently, if we don't, the exhaust system has got leaks in it and stuff, there's several things I'm gonna have to do to it here before too long. So that's why I was gonna wait and see where we're at, what we're gonna do before I put any money into that one.
and I was just checking to see, make sure that, cause these are estimates on if I came up, if we ended up coming up 20,000 short in this budget, if there's some alternate spot to grab that or not.
We could always dress up with an amendment, like I said, we're roughly $200,000.
Yeah,
I think maybe we won't spend, and.
I think we will be good too, but.
Well, you run into that anyway, and, but this, I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think we ought to do the whole jail, get one, do the whole jail.
I say he's got the money, I'm saying we might as well. It's gonna have to bite the bullet at some point in time, and it's either keep messing with this old machine or just.
I like the idea of the diesel, I don't know what you guys like, but I think diesel makes more sense to me.
I don't disagree, it's easier to get, just call up, hold 500 gallons or whatever it is, that auto runner, you would think for a couple of days, I don't know. Might not check to ask.
Yeah.
You know, how long that'll run it, and you can get that delivered. It shouldn't be that big an expense, you're only gonna use it when the power goes down.
Well, the jail one runs, it runs every Monday morning, automatic, for 15, 20 minutes.
Just.
We have to by the state standards with the jail.
Understood, just sort of test it and keep it running. So if it hasn't run for a year and you turn it on, crap.
Yeah, it'll start up, and then it'll kick the transfer switch, and then it'll kick it out, and then there's a cool down time.
I think it runs for 15 minutes before it kicks it out, I think.
You know, you probably, on your specifications, it'll probably tell you, because you got an hour meter on them. It'll probably tell you at full load, how many gallon of gas or fuel it'll take at full load.
I still like the idea of getting other bids, though. I like competition. It keeps everybody honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had plans of it, but at this point, I just wanted to see if we were ready to go, yeah.
Right on.
So yeah, we can get a brand name, double check the see if we can figure out how long it's gonna run on a tank of fuel. Check out some of that when we get some of these other bids as well.
And if you get a brand name, maybe you can ask other jail or other places, you know, how you go along with the, you know, the Acme generators, how do they work for you? I don't know, and Jim probably knows a little bit about some of those brands.
Well, Kohler's probably about the top line.
Uh-huh.
So, then they've even got Tecumseh's out there on some of them. I don't think I'd want one of them, but.
I would still like to see, though, the cost of, there's gotta be some way to see, if it's gonna be, you know, twice the money to run diesel, even though it may be better than natural gas, I would still like to see, you know, they've
We'll
gotta
see
be
if
able
we
to have
can-
some of those figures,
We'll
because.
see if they have some of those figures.
I was thinking diesel, the same what Jim had brought up, if there is any kind of natural disaster, somebody digging to break a gas line, whatever, and if it's the line we're on, there's no generator.
Fine, Jack, fine.
I'm
I'm out of here, I can't do this, stop, I can't do this.
That's why I was thinking of the diesel.
Okay.
We'll see what we can find out.
Diesel puts you in control of your own facility. Where if you got your electric, you know, goes out, then you got the utility company, they're in control of what you can get. If they have to shut the line off, you're not gonna get it.
Just real fast too, I'll like to point out the IT strategy for, in terms of backup, if a big storm comes through here and knocks our courthouse out, is all reliant on the jail having electricity, so. If they don't have electricity out there, well, IT won't be able to do much, so.
No, that's, it sounds to me like the board's supportive of going ahead with the bigger generator and getting some, with the concept if you need some pricing and a little more information, but I think we would probably, it sounds to me like we're saying go ahead and keep on going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I don't wanna complicate anything, cause it's probably, timing
That's why
wise,
you
it may not
raised
be as
your
good, but, what?
That's why you raised your hand, was complicated.
It's kinda like, it's more like this instead of like full confidence. I was just, as I was listening, I was thinking, you know, we went through our pre-disaster mitigation plan process that allows us to be eligible for hazard mitigation assistance grants. I don't know if they're accepting applications right now, but they do generator projects. I mean, I could call and just see if they're accepting applications or not. The complicating factor though is I don't know what the timing of that would be. You know, this sounds like it might be a little more near term than a longer term thing. I mean, that could take 6 months or a year or something, I don't know. But I can at least call and see if they're accepting applications.
That'd be great.
It'd be worth a check, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't catch the cost either, so I don't know. You should-
150, 100.
Yeah. That's big. That's big.
156, 152.
Yeah. And they usually do, I think it's 70% covered federal and 15% by the state.
You need to make that phone call, Batman.
Yeah.
So,
That's a.
That would be awesome.
again, I don't know if they're accepting applications right now, but they do fund generators.
Certainly worth the
So,
phone call or the email.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's be a good deal.
We typically need 3 bids.
Might work out for us well, timing wise.
Yeah. Well, I'll try. I got a busy day today, but we'll see if we can get a call or an email out there.
Use all your powers.
You can
I got superpowers, right? Put the bat light up.
That's
make
right.
that call, or you can contact Doug. and talk to him.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Okay.
who I should call.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
Absolutely.
all right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Paint a mental picture of a bunch of prisoners out there shivering in the cold if they don't get a grant.
I'll sell it as
Please,
best as I
sir.
can.
Can we have some heat?
Ice fishing.
What's
Thanks,
your-
Rodney.
what's your
Thanks,
phone
Jack.
number, Doug? I need to get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can call me on my cell, 319-759-5191.
5191.
You know,
Thanks,
if
Kevin.
anybody
Thanks,
complains
Kevin.
about
Thank
all
you.
these new expenses, you know, we're gonna blame it on to the sheriff.
Oh, yeah.
I've been waiting to blame something like Glendenning.
What's getting blamed on me?
Huh?
What's getting blamed on me?
I say, if the taxpayers complain about spending money on the jail, we're gonna blame it on the new sheriff.
Yeah, when they were talking about the planning for this, like, generators really are fun money, like.
Yeah, I do.
That's not like the.
I mean, I may just let you talk.
That isn't like your new helicopter?
Right.
It's not the sexy pick by any means.
Yeah, no, it's not.
New guns, armored vehicles.
Yes, yes. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys, take care.
All right, if I hear something, Doug, I'll give you a
All
call.
right, yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Good stuff, Batman.
I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but we did get a call from, oh, what town was it? I think it was Letts, a couple weeks ago, and they told us to put in what they call a notice of intent, which is just it's kind of an informal, like, start the process.
Right.
But I didn't know if that meant they were gonna fund it or not. It was just kind of a suggested submit this, so I should probably follow up anyway and ask some more detailed questions.
Okay. Ready? Moines County Board of Supervisors
He said something about it.
work session with Southeast Iowa Regional Planning for reducing the zoning commission membership from 7 to 5, I believe is the proposal.
That's what we're considering.
Yeah, I called you a few weeks ago about it, Tom, just to kind of see what you thought or what we should do, and I think we both agreed maybe to come here and talk about it as a group, but I think as we're going through the ordinances again and just looking at changes, and then we've had some vacancies that we keep trying to fill and having trouble filling them, and I think as like I said, through the ordinance updates, we're looking to change kind of a little bit of what the responsibilities are of the planning commission, and probably more duties going to the Board of Adjustment, which I think the way state code says things should be done, and how a lot of other counties do a lot of their things with like home occupation permits, variances, things like that. That's typically how they're done, so we're kind of shifting some duties that traditionally in the county have been on the planning commission, shifting them over to the Board of Adjustment. So just with some of these issues, trying to find members, shifting powers a little bit, we thought it might be worth a conversation of reducing membership, and Jared's done a lot of research. He put together a staff report detailing a lot of different things here, and I guess I might let him kind of discuss some of these things, but in more detail, but I just lost my train of thought. With direction from the state code, they give some very specific things on the Board of Adjustment and the structure that they should have, but they don't give a lot of detail on planning commission. And in our current ordinance, we weren't even sure what it actually should be. We couldn't find any documentation of it. The only thing in there was there's a statement in there about having a quorum, and a quorum is 4. So that makes us believe that the number should be 7, but that's the only.
And that's not even in the zoning ordinance, that's in the rules of procedure, the bylaws for the commission, because the ordinances themselves are curiously absent of any real mention of the zoning ordinance talks about the Board of Adjustment, and there's some incidental references to the zoning commission in both zoning and subdivision, but there's no formal listing of any of the requirements. That's all, historically, that's all relied on those rules of procedure. I don't know if that has something to do with the way that that we had a zoning commission before we had a zoning ordinance for subdivision review, but it's not in subdivision either, so it's not really clear why that is the case, but we are working to clean that up as part of the ordinance update, so that information is in there. However, it gets to the whole question of if we are gonna propose a change to the number of members, how exactly do we do that? Because as it stands right now, the rules of procedure for the commission, it doesn't even state that there needs to be 7 members. It just says that a quorum is 4, which you deduce that either has to be 7 or 6, which it would make less sense at 6 because that would be an even number, and that creates opportunities for tie votes. So it just but that's obviously all our records going back. We've always had 7 members. So so the question being if it makes sense to reduce it to 5, how do we do that? That's the one question, but in terms of the substance itself, did you?
I was gonna say, the first question is, do we need 7 members, or does it make sense to
Right,
go to
right,
5?
right.
And then that following question is, what's the formal procedure to do that? Do we put it in the ordinance somewhere and document it, or is it in a bylaw, or?
'Cause as I understand it, because there's nothing in the ordinance right now, that's why I think we wanted to address it at this time, because we'll still need to have that ordinance update approved, but since it's not even stated in there right now, we could make that change beforehand, make it to the rules of procedure instead, and that way it comes into the ordinance as an established policy as opposed to, because there's nothing to amend as it stands.
So, I mean, basically, you're looking to change it to 5 and make the quorum 3.
Right.
That's the only
Right.
change
Right.
that you really,
Yeah.
and there's no, go ahead.
No, Terry was gonna say
Let
something.
let me check resolutions to see if the number of members was approved by
Approved, yeah.
resolution
Yeah,
by the
that could be.
board. So I'll have to go back and research.
And I don't know, I mean, you did it a long time ago, so I don't know if you have any recollection of.
That's why I'm thinking, let me check resolutions to see if there was a resolution that established the number of members for each one, so I'll go clear back to that. That's the only other, since it's not mentioned in the ordinances, that's the only thing that I can think of, that it might have been established by resolution.
But this is being prompted because you can't get people to fill the 7-member.
That's
part
part
of
of it, yeah, I think it would be.
We're at 6 currently, and we've had trouble getting the 7th, but one of our members is, now lives in his name.
Ron Wunderlich.
Ron Wunderlich is kind of give us an indication he doesn't, he's kind of willing to stay on for the time being, but he'd rather
Because
depart.
we just formally reappointed Jesse Caston, and he was willing to commit to it 5 years, but Ron also, his term expired at the same time, and we were thinking of holding off before we formally reappoint him, just to make sure. And we can if he's willing to at least do it temporarily, but I guess ideally, it seems kind of silly to pursue that if it's just gonna be for a short period of time, if we think we're gonna end up changing it anyway. I looked into what other communities do just to get some perspective on this, and so we did. There are a number of communities that do have 7, but they are definitely outnumbered by those that have 5 at the county level, and there's a number of similar-sized counties with communities the size of Burlington, like Ottumwa, Mason City, etc. I believe that have 5, and there's even a couple of larger communities. I think Sioux City and Iowa City or Johnson County as well. So, like I said, the state code establishes that there are to be 5 members of a board of adjustment, but it doesn't say anything about zoning commission. So I just think that given that we are in this county, well, subdivision is countywide, the zoning is only that small area. So if there are counties that are zoned countywide that have 5 members, it just seems logical that I would see no harm in Des Moines having that same number as well. It would be the same number as the
2-mile boundary.
I'm even thinking, going back historically, that perhaps part of the reason we opted for 7 was just to ensure that we did have a quorum, because sometimes you'd end up with members that would have other commitments. And since Zach and I started, we've kind of been trying to get more proactive and reaching out, and because we don't have meetings very often. It's set up to be a recurring procedure, but typically we only, sometimes we're busier than others. I mean, obviously now with the ordinance update, we'll be meeting more often, but sometimes it gets to be where there's 6 months to a year without a meeting. So we've been typically trying to reach out to them in advance to schedule, just to make sure, rather than just putting something on the calendar and then hoping for the best and then having a majority show up. We've been trying to make sure that we get something that fits their schedule. So I think perhaps historically the thought was, let's just have 7 just to make sure that enough people show up. But if that's the thought process, then I think just being a little bit more proactive in scheduling those meetings, we can avoid that problem anyway with 5.
I read the, what we call the little brief you sent out, and I have no problem with moving it to 5. I think it might solve a couple problems. That the zoning commission isn't the only board or commission that we have trouble filling. There's only so many people that are willing to serve on them.
Right.
And quite a few of them are already on one or two boards.
And another advantage is that we had the whole deal with that state legislation last year about where the members of the commission can live, and historically, the requirement was that a majority had to live within the 2-mile area, but we allow people from outside, given the fact that the subdivision is countywide. But it still seems like a good practice to say that the majority should be in the 2-mile. When you have 5 instead of 7, that means only 3 would need to be from that area. So just a simple majority there. So I think that would make more sense in terms of representation. That yes, it is. You can have a slight majority be in the 2-mile area, but with 5, then that ends up you'd have 2 of the 5 could be outside that. So.
Well, clear things up to that legislation, then, if you remember right, that requires everybody to be outside of city limits, so we're also limited to a pool of just people that are outside of any incorporated area, so that limits our pool there, and I was gonna state, we've been trying to fill that one position, I think we talked about it the other day, we've asked 4 to 5 people and still haven't, none of them have committed, so.
And in the county of 39,000, there's only about 9,000, a little less than 9,000 that live in unincorporated areas.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm like Tom, I don't have a problem with it, but I'd like to see what.
Well, that was
Terry
the
finds out
other
about the
question, is how
resolution.
procedurally do we change this? Something we do when we're updating the ordinance, or is it a resolution, or is it, we're not?
Yeah.
It doesn't give much
I
guidance.
think we can, it sounds like if there's nothing in the ordinance that governs that now, that ideally that would be something we would take care of first, because obviously we're gonna need the vote of the commission to recommend approval of the ordinances anyway, so I'd like to get that straightened out before we get to that process. Plus the fact that, of course, the question really becomes, is it something that the board decides? Is it something that the commission has to recommend first? What's that's really the procedure we're trying to figure out.
We can look into that a little bit more. I would think the supervisors would just make that decision, but I don't know. We can.
I would think
we can maybe message like Eric or Gary Taylor and get some insight. Maybe they should know.
well, I think, as far as I'm concerned, 5 is groovy with a good sufficient, whatever you guys think, so I think we can proceed on how that gets done. I've got a consensus.
Okay, well, Tara, if you can find anything, let us know, and we'll reach out to the folks there at Iowa State Extension to see if they have any guidance on what that procedure should be. If it needs to be a recommendation, or if it's just done by the supervisor.
Maybe we can just write in Brian's contract that he's on that board.
Capital suggestion.
So we're all resident?
Well, there's a win. Gonna have an amendment to his contract.
Yeah,
So,
for
by the
something
way,
to do,
also,
Brian? Yeah, that
also
sounds great.
a regularly attending member of the zoning board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun.
I guess I'll take care of that.
You had anything else in there?
We'll come up with it. So,
all right.
If you guys want, you and Terry handle the
Okay, I'll see what we can
logistics
figure
of
out.
that.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
For listening.
Gentlemen. Thank you for the idea on the grant. Don't forget to make that call.
Yeah.
The pressure's on now.
That would be great. if
I
something
was
like that
tempted
was-
not to say anything, not enough to make the phone
What
call,
the-
but, you know.
That's never.
No, I didn't hear how much it costs, but I mean, I'm thinking typically they're, for smaller ones, at least 40 or 50,000, so this must be a pretty big one.
With everything on the bigger generator, it's about 100, a little on 160, 156,
Yeah, it's a big
160
expense.
around.
So,
I think our shop one
Pay
is
for
about
that.
80,000.
yeah.
They're
Because
small.
we got grants to cover some generators years, that's how I got mine at the shop, was the county had some grant money left over from something, and I got part of that paid through that grant.
Natural gas or a diesel?
Ours is diesel.
Because Jim says you have the control of diesel, so. puts the control back in the county's hands. Jimmy has spoken. I was thinking about you, I was watching some commercial came on, about jewelry. The heck is that? Yeah, anyways, yeah. I said, man, this guy needs to walk around, he needs to get some cheap rings and just walk around, just drown. You know what I'm saying? Welcome. My county, you're welcome.
Well, and I think it was last year or the year before, Colin, when they were having problems with electric down here. They were with all the underground lines and all of that, and we ran on a generator.
It happens more often than not. I don't know what it is.
And
but
we
down
rarely,
here,
I mean, we might have just a slight flicker, and that's it, and we can't even tell
Every
that we're
time-
running on the generator.
every time the lights flicker, my office gets at least 5-6 phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
Guaranteed. Because, yeah.
Are we
I mean,
running on the generator?
Well, most everything that we have is on battery backups. But, you know.
Oh, then you know which
every-
ones are beeping.
Yeah, they're beeping, or every time the lights flicker, we always have like one UPS that dies or something, and we have to go swap it out, so. But yeah, it seems like it happens more often than not.
And I know that there's many mornings I've come in and it's out there running, doing its testing and all of that, so.
It's been quite a few years, but, back in the day, I don't know, after I'd been with the county for a few years, it seemed like it was real bad, like every 2 days the power was going out down here, so I don't know what the deal was.
And I think we got this one back here with a grant.
It was the
didn't we?
same grant that I got, I got kind of the tail end leftover of it to go after mine.
I don't know who installed it or anything, but I think they come down and do regular maintenance.
It's been a while. What's that been, 8 years
Oh
or?
my gosh, it's been a while.
Been a while.
Are we adjourned, Tom?
We were adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, one other thing,